Hello and welcome to The Happy Goddess. Before I get into anything, make sure y'all check out the community tab. There'll be a lot of polls and stuff being posted, as well as, we've been growing. When we hit that 500 mark or even 1,000, we are definitely going to be dropping a giveaway. There'll be some items like money rice, um, different types of magical hoodoo rice, and kits and different other stuff that will be given away. Now let's get into the video, okay? And this ain't hoodoo, it's Wicca, baby. So now y'all see on the screen, you see some items, okay? Now, these items are here for a reason. And we're gonna break it down. So let's get into this, okay? Now, the first thing we got on deck, the confusion between Wiccan practices and hoodoo rituals often stem from a blending of different spiritual traditions, okay? And this ain't purposely I guess some of this is purposely blended, and a lack of understanding about the historical and cultural contents contents of each practice. So we're going to talk about certain items right here. Now, the first one on deck is going to be moon cycles. Okay, so moon cycles, Wiccan often, perform rituals and spells in alignment with the phases of the moon. So, of course, the new moon is typically a time for new beginnings and setting intentions, while the full moon is for manifestation, and the waning moon is about banishment and releasing of negative energy. They use it to worship their, the goddesses and stuff like that. And, harvest and all those, things to deal with the crop seasons and stuff like that. They do a lot of those. But with hoodoo, it's not a lot of, there is no moon cycle, because with hoodoo, anytime is the right time to do magic. Okay, the ancestors didn't have time, to, go to the big house and look at the calendar and, to go by the moon cycles on doing their magic. Number one, a lot of them wasn't even supposed to be able to flip and read. So imagine having a calendar. They didn't even have a calendar in their cabin or shack or whatever back in those days. There was no calendar. There was no moon cycle. They were doing magic when they could do the magic and get it done. So they could stop the beatings. They could get, be able to run away, do what they had to do, heal themselves, all of that. So nobody had time to be worrying about no moon cycles. So that is Wiccan. Okay. Next, honey jars. Okay, so that's why we got the honey sitting right here. Okay, y'all see that honey sitting here? Okay, this honey is sitting here for this reason right here. Honey jars are now being considered a part of hoodoo. Sorry, it's not. Honey jars is a Euro influence, a Euro American or, Caucasian American influence that's been put into hoodoo. We don't do honey jars. Number one, do you know how expensive honey is back in the damn days? Where is our ancestors getting honey from? Hello? You trying to get, can you imagine an ancestor trying to grab themselves some honey to put in a jar, to put paper and a whole bunch of stuff and everything in? Excuse me, when they could put it on some bread and a biscuit. Are you, or some cornbread? You put it in some of their coffee and tea. Seriously? Nobody was doing honey jar spells. It just wasn't happening. Wiccans may use honey jars as part of their spiritual spell work that sweeten relationships, situations, and outcomes. Honey is seen as a natural, sweet substance that attracts positive energy. Okay, it's called sympathetic magic. Okay, this practice aligns with the Wiccan belief in sympathetic magic, where like attract like, and the properties of honey are believed to influence the outcome. Now, when it comes to hoodoo, we down with a sugar jar. Historically enslaved people and later African American practitioners of hoodoo use sugar jars instead of honey. Okay, a little bit of honey. You know, honey was expensive and not as easily, readily available, where sugar was more accessible. So sugar jars served a similar purpose in sweetening relationships or situations, and sometimes it could work. It worked, a lot of times it could work quicker than a honey, because honey moves slow. Okay, honey is very slow. Honey is like the turtle. It'll get there, but it's slow. Hoodoo is known for its resourcefulness, okay, and practicality, okay, often using whatever materials are available to achieve magical goals, okay. So the confusion arises because modern hoodoo practitioners, you know, of Euro background sometimes use honey jars and try to blend it in with hoodoo. But really, I'm starting to think that it might not even be hoodoo that they're doing. It might just be folk magic. This might be folk magic. I think a lot of Euros are confusing hoodoo with folk magic. Because when you start putting moon cycles and honey and different other things and all these other elements in, then you don't have hoodoo. You got folk magic with a little bit of Wicca up in it. Yeah. Okay. Because hoodoo relied on sugar jars due to economic constraints. Okay. They didn't have it like that. Now, Wicca, okay, Wicca was founded in the mid 20th century, drawing from a variety of ancient and modern sources, including ceremonial magic, European folk, see what I'm saying? Folk traditions, and nature worship. Wicca emphasizes rituals, ceremonies, and structured belief system. So there's structure with it. Now, hoodoo, on the other hand, is a form of African American folk magic rooted in African, Native American, European Bible use. That's where it comes from. Bible use. The Bible is European. Okay, so that's where the European influence comes into hoodoo. That's it. Just the Bible. It's developed in the context of slavery and segregation in the United States, focusing on practical everyday magic to improve one's circumstances. Okay, now the difference between Wicca and Hoodoo, okay, is religion with a structured belief system and rituals, while Hoodoo is a folk practice focused on practical magic. Okay, big difference. Hoodoo practices developed under conditions of economic hardship influencing the materials and methods used. Now, Wicca often incorporated more accessible and variety of materials. Hoodoo retains a strong connection to African American cultural, heritage and the history of slavery, while Wicca draws from a broader, eclectic mix of European pagan traditions. Big difference. The same thing with Appalachian is Euro based, Euro root magic. So when you see Josh paper in Hoodoo, when you see this, when you see this, when you see this money in hoodoo. This is in hoodoo. And your ancestors is going to be looking at you like, what we supposed to do with this? Wait a minute. You mean this is, I'm, don't be offended by this. Okay. I don't want nobody to be offended. Like, this jackass is asking us for money, but they can afford to go to Amazon, buy a pack of money that costs about $10, $5 to $10, of it with Asian letters on it that we don't even understand or read, and it got hell on it. Now you know full well if when your grandmother was alive or your great great grandmother was alive, if they saw hell note on a piece of paper, they'd be like, "What is the demonic stuff that you brought in here?" You know your nana you know full well your nana would have saw this paper with them Chinese markings on it and be like, "What you doing with that? You ain't Asian. The last time I checked, your last name was in Lee. What you doing with this paper? What you doing with this frog? What are you supposed to be doing with this frog? Huh? What you doing with this frog? What you doing with this? What you doing with this money? Huh? What you doing with this money? I don't. What we supposed to do with this? You actually, like, give this to one of your relatives right now and tell them you giving them this as an offering or something like that. They were like, "What is this for? I can't do nothing with this. I can't do nothing with this. This ain't what is this for?" Hmm? So when you trying to, get money or, manifest some money, you better break out them herbs. Better break out that oil. You better break out that candle. Because that's something that they can relate to. The ancestors can relate to some oil. They can relate to some herbs. They can relate to like some coffee, offering them some coffee, offering them some of their favorite grandma yay, offering them some of that, yak. They can understand you giving them some of that moonshine. They can understand all of that. They can, understand you offering them a plate of some, rice with some cornbread and, a little bit of meat on it. They can understand that. But what the hell they supposed to do with some? What they supposed to do with this paper? And they got Chinese words on it and stuff like that. What they supposed to do with this? Huh? They got a 7-Eleven down there in hell. They got a seven. Oh, I said hell. They got a 7-Eleven in heaven. Well, it's hell because they call this hell notes. This is called hell notes. That's why I said hell. But no, is there a in the spiritual realm? Is there a 24-hour bodega that I don't know about? Is there a 24-hour bodega that they have that they could take this money that you burning and go spend it? Because they can't. This ain't, if we are, like some people are saying that, if we're saying that hoodoo, which is African based magic, African based spirituality, if we're saying that this is a closed practice, because it is based, its very foundation, its very roots, if you imagine a tree, the very root in which the tree has formed is from Africans, Caribbean, Black, African slaves. I'm just going to say African slaves, maybe some Caribbean people that were slaves, the, Black Americans that were here already that were turned into slaves, the Africans that were turned into slaves. That is the very root of hoodoo. The very root of hoodoo is based on the people that were enslaved, that were trying to hold on to their heritage by any way they could. And they took whatever they had, they took the knowledge that they left with, and they took the knowledge that they left with from there where they was at, and they brought that here and they incorporated it into what we have, hoodoo. Okay, so the very root of it is hoodoo. The very roots of it is based in slavery, hardship, trauma, trauma, atrocities, all of that. And that is the root of hoodoo. And as time go by, and we're now in 2024, we are the leaves, some of the branches of that tree. That's what hoodoo is. Hoodoo is ancestral. Hoodoo is ancestor based magic. African American, African based, African, African, Black slaves, African, oh my gosh, I'm tired. African American people that were enslaved. I'm trying to be, correct, because like the people that came here, some of them were, Caribbean, some were, African based, like, Marie Laveau was, you know, African. She was part Congo, what is it? From the Congo, Congolese. She was Congolesian or Congolese. Right. So she was part from the Congo. And also part white. So that's why I'm trying to be like correct on like the whole mix and the mixing pot of what the roots of hoodoo are. Anyway, I don't want to get distracted. The point is, I should have did this in a live. Y'all would have probably like but they no, I'm just probably chimed in and talked and everything, but then I would have really been distracted. But anyway, the whole point is, honey, these items right here are not hoodoo. So we don't need to be burning. We don't need to spend money that we're trying to get, purchasing money that has nothing to do with us and burning it for our ancestors. This money right here is for Vietnamese and Asian people's ancestors. That's how they honor their ancestors. And I think because this money was a form of a way for them to honor ancestors, that people took it and said, oh yeah, well, they're using this money to honor their ancestors, well, so we should use it too because it symbolizes money, so we could use it, and then it'll help us gain more money. No, this is for them. This is how they honor their ancestors, and we need to respect their culture and how they do things. Same way we want people to respect our culture and how we do things. We need to respect them and stop using their items in our rituals, because it's not African based. None of this. Okay, last time I checked, I don't know this. The frog isn't part of our culture. Okay, neither is the honey. So y'all comment below and tell me what y'all think, okay? And don't forget to subscribe. Whew. Bye, y'all.